Moving on now, Chinese President Xi Jinping will visit Russia from May the 7th to May the 10th to attend the 80th anniversary of the Allied victory over Nazi Germany. According to the Kremlin, he will join Russian President Vladimir Putin at the May 9th Victory Day celebrations in Moscow, one of Russia's most symbolic holidays, and hold bilateral talks focusing on deepening strategic and regional partnerships. During the visit, both countries are expected to sign several key bilateral agreements. Putin has announced a 3-day ceasefire in Ukraine to coincide with the celebrations. However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has rejected the move as mere theatrics, demanding instead, as we mentioned earlier, a 30-day ceasefire, something Moscow has ruled out. China, officially neutral in the war, is under increasing Western scrutiny for its close economic and diplomatic alignment with Russia. The visit underscores Beijing and Moscow's growing bond, even as the war in Ukraine continues with no clear resolution in sight. Well, joining us to discuss this announcement from the Kremlin of President Xi's visit to Russia is Srikant Kondapalli, a professor of China Studies at JNU. Thank you very much for joining us, Srikant. I want to look first at the meaning of this meeting, besides, of course, the celebrations on May the 9th for the end of the Second World War and Victory Day for Russia. We mentioned that there will be some agreements signed. What do you think these will focus on?
Well, the visit is not new. President Xi visited Moscow 3 years ago, 2022 February and 2023 February. And before that, President Putin visited China and they signed a limitless partnership, as it was called at the time. So the current visit will have taken into consideration the tariff wars, the Trump administration's policies regarding the recent restrictions on trade and other technology and so on. But previously, President Biden has suggested to President Xi Jinping that there should be no material support to the Ukraine conflict from the Chinese side. And information is that China does supply electronic warfare equipment, semiconductors, drones, some satellite imageries, and so on, in addition to some ordnance-related logistics. But the current visit would have possibly what they call strategic partnership that was signed in June 2001. And that includes a number of issues. Trade has increased substantially with Russia. The Chinese trade, over $220 billion last year. And energy also has been exported substantially to China, some $62 billion worth of energy that has been supplied to China at discount prices in the light of the sanctions from the Western European countries and so on. But there is also the concern that Russia has in terms of the flooding of the Russian market, specifically in terms of the cheaper goods as well as automobiles, especially electric vehicles. So this is a concern for Russia. There is also the Chinese, overcoming the SWIFT system where there are sanctions imposed on Russia. So China has been helping out Russia in this regard in the financial matters. And there is also, of course, the Far Eastern region, which has complained about the restrictions imposed on the fishery exports to China. Then there is the concern on espionage cases in Russia involving some Chinese nationals. So these are some issues, even though at a leadership level, they are very cordial and they are coordinating in the United Nations Security Council, G20, BRICS, SEO, and other multilateral institutions.
Yes, absolutely. I want to look at the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. We spoke earlier in this program about President Zelensky warning that foreign dignitaries won't be guaranteed safety. Is this something that you think Xi will be keeping in mind? And also, what's China's role in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war?
Well, the Chinese have released a 12-point proposal for the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict. Many of these are, of course, well known in terms of the so-called neutrality, but there is the concern expressed in terms of North Koreans joining the war, as well as also some Chinese. So this is a major concern for the other countries. In terms of the threat that President Zelensky has mentioned, of course, Russia is well prepared in terms of the ballistic missile defense and any entry-exit of these airborne weapon systems. So it is possibly more a threat rather than a realistic kind of assessment on the situation in the 80th anniversary.
Yes, absolutely. We have time for one quick question, and obviously you've mentioned there some trade relations. Given the ongoing trade war between the US and China, is there a chance here that there could be a new economic alliance formed as well that could see China and Russia build on the trade negotiations and relationships that they already have?
Yes, but there is a limitation in terms of trade because initially the trade was just about less than $100 billion. Now it has gone up to $220 billion. There is a limit for this trade because of the sparse population of Russia consumers and also because of the concern on the Chinese role in terms of trade and so on and so forth. The Eurasian Economic Council has a arrangement with the Belt and Road Initiative projects. They also have free trade negotiations in this regard. Yet Russia is still not prepared for the full-blown economic contacts with China because of the concerns on the Chinese gobbling up the Russian market, as well as the Russian market itself is very small in terms of the consumer markets and so on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you ever so much, Shrikant Kondapalli, for joining us as that meeting takes place over 3